Welcome to this educational video, where we'll explore how political systems can be understood through the lens of complexity science. We'll compare totalitarian regimes and democracies by examining how they restrict or enable interactions between citizens, institutions, and information. In complexity science terms, we can think of political regimes as existing on a spectrum. At one extreme, we have totalitarian systems that severely restrict the interactions between agents, whether those agents are citizens, institutions, media outlets, or political parties. At the other end, we have democratic systems that generally allow for free interactions, adaptations, and information exchange between these same agents. Let's begin by examining how these systems differ in terms of their network topology and connectivity. In a totalitarian regime, the network is highly centralized. We see a few powerful hub nodes, like the ruler, a single political party, or the secret police, controlling most flows of information and resources. Citizens have very few connections, typically only to the state or officially approved intermediaries. This is what we call a low average degree in network theory. The totalitarian system also exhibits strong modularity, meaning any subnetwork of dissenting nodes is quickly isolated or broken apart to prevent the spread of alternative ideas. In contrast, democratic regimes are decentralized or have multiple hubs. Many organizations serve as connection points: political parties, non-governmental organizations, free media, and civic groups. Citizens have a high average degree, meaning they can connect broadly through social media, town halls, free press, and other channels. Democratic systems have low modularity, allowing information and influence to flow across many communities. This makes it difficult to quarantine new ideas. Next, let's examine degrees of freedom and entropy in these systems. In a totalitarian regime, strict rules limit agents' choices regarding speech, assembly, and press. This means the system's overall entropy, a measure of possible microstates, is very low. If we were to create an agent-based model of a totalitarian society, each actor would have a small set of possible actions, perhaps limited to obeying, minor complaints, or fleeing the country. In contrast, democratic systems allow for large action spaces. Citizens can speak freely, petition their government, protest, or form new associations. This means the system's entropy is much higher. With so many more possible actions available to each agent, democracies have many more possible macro configurations, such as diverse coalitions, policy outcomes, and social movements. Let's now explore feedback loops and learning mechanisms in these systems. In totalitarian regimes, we predominantly see negative feedback loops designed to clamp down on deviation. These include censorship, surveillance, and punishment. Agents in such systems quickly learn that non-state-approved actions carry high risks, so they tend to self-limit their behavior to avoid consequences. Democratic systems, on the other hand, feature mixed feedback mechanisms. There are negative feedback loops like laws and social norms that maintain order, but also positive feedback that can reward innovation, like public acclaim or election victories for novel ideas. This environment allows agents to continuously explore new strategies, learn from others, adapt their approaches, and influence policy through iterative cycles. Let's discuss emergence and innovation in both systems. In totalitarian regimes, emergent phenomena are constrained and typically underground. Examples include clandestine networks and secretly distributed literature. These systems have large energy barriers in their policy landscape which prevent major shifts. Changes tend to come in small, infrequent bursts. Democratic systems, however, feature frequent and visible emergent events, such as social movements, startup incubators, and pluralistic debates that can reconfigure policy approaches. The barriers to change in democracies are lower, allowing for continuous small-scale experiments and gradual reshaping of the political fitness landscape. Now, let's examine resilience versus fragility in these systems. Totalitarian regimes show apparent resilience to small shocks as dissent is quickly suppressed. However, they are surprisingly fragile to large disturbances. For example, when a key hub fails, such as a ruler's death or key elite defections, the entire system can rapidly collapse. This fragility stems from low redundancy. Removing or buying off a few elites can potentially topple the regime. Democratic systems, in contrast, are robust to the loss of individual nodes. For instance, when a party loses an election, the system as a whole endures. This resilience comes from high redundancy and diversity of institutions, which buffer against shocks like economic crises or political scandals more gracefully. Finally, Let's discuss different strategies for modeling these political systems. Agent-based models, or ABMs, can simulate these systems by assigning each agent a set of permissible actions. In a totalitarian model, interactions would be limited to state-sanctioned channels, while a democratic model would allow open-ended interactions across networks. Information entropy measures can compute the Shannon entropy of communication patterns. Lower entropy signals tighter control in totalitarian systems, while higher entropy indicates the freer flow of information in democracies. Percolation and threshold models can help find the critical fraction of activated dissenters needed to spark system-wide change. This threshold is typically much higher in totalitarian networks than in democratic ones. In summary, by mapping political regimes onto concepts from complexity science, we gain a quantitative and mechanistic understanding of how these systems function. Totalitarian systems can be characterized by low connectivity, as citizens have few connections outside state-approved channels. Low entropy, with restricted possible actions for each agent. Strong negative feedback that suppresses deviation. And a surprising fragility to major shocks despite apparent stability. Democratic systems, on the other hand, feature high connectivity with multiple pathways for information and influence. High entropy, allowing for diverse possible actions and system states. Mixed feedback mechanisms that balance order with innovation, and resilience through redundancy and diversity of institutions. This framework not only helps us analyze existing regimes, but also provides insights for designing governance structures that effectively balance order with innovation and adaptability.